I want you to do something right now. Wherever your dog is, on the couch, on the floor, asleep at your feet, I want you to go get them, sit down with them, and look at their nails. Not trim them, not check if they're too long, just look. Because in 22 years as a veterinary internal medicine specialist, the thing I've seen missed more than almost anything else, the thing that sits quietly in plain sight while something serious builds underneath, is right there at the end of your dog's toes. Most owners look at nails once a month, if that. They notice them when they click on the floor, when the groomer mentions it, when they snag on the carpet. What nobody tells you, what most vets don't have time to explain in an 8-minute appointment, is that a dog's nails are one of the most readable health signals your dog has. When something starts going wrong inside their body, a nutritional deficiency, a tumor, a fungal infection, a metabolic disease, the nails often show it first, quietly, without drama. While you're looking somewhere else, I'm going to show you 4 specific things to look for. Brittle nails that crack instead of cutting clean. One nail that looks different from all the others. Nails that have gone yellow or brown and powdery at the edges. And nails that are suddenly growing faster than they ever have before. Each one means something different. Each one points to something happening inside the body. Stay with me until the end. Because the 4th sign, the one about growth rate, is the one I see go unnoticed the longest, in dogs that are later diagnosed with serious internal disease. I'll get there. But first, I need to tell you about a dog named Biscuit, a 7-year-old Labrador mix. His owner, a woman named Patricia, brought him to me because he'd been limping for 3 weeks. She'd already been to her regular vet. They checked his joints, checked his hips, everything looked fine. They sent her home with anti-inflammatory medication and told her to rest him. 3 weeks later, Biscuit was still limping. When I examined him, I didn't start with the joints. I looked at his paws. On his left front foot, on the 3rd digit, one nail, swollen at the base, just that one. The nail bed beneath it was dark, almost black. He flinched when I touched it with the lightest pressure I had. Biscuit had a nail bed tumor. It had been quietly growing for months while everyone looked at his hips. We caught it early enough to operate. He lost one toe. He healed. He's still running 4 years later. But Patricia said something I've never forgotten. I noticed that nail looked different. I thought maybe he just caught it on something. She saw it. She just didn't know what she was looking at. That's 22 years of what I do. I've operated on over 4,000 animals. I've held dogs in their final moments and looked their owners in the eyes and tried to find words that don't exist. And every time, every single time, I ask myself the same question afterward. How did it get this far? What was the first sign that nobody read? More often than not, it comes down to something nobody told the owner in time. This is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to make you look. Now, before I walk you through each warning sign, I want you to understand why a nail carries this kind of information in the first place. Because this is the part most people have completely wrong. A dog's nail is not dead tissue. It's not like clipping a piece of plastic. Inside every nail runs a living structure. Blood vessels, nerves, and something called the quick, which is the pink core you see when you trim too short. That quick connects to the nail bed, which sits directly on the bone of the last digit of your dog's toe. Think of it like the rubber seal around a bathtub drain. The drain is the bone, the seal is the nail bed. The water flowing through is the blood supply. When that seal gets compromised by inflammation, infection, or something growing inside it, the nail above it starts to change. The nail is the only part you can see. But what it's showing you is what's happening in the tissue and bone underneath. This is why nail changes are almost never about the nail itself. They are the surface expression of something internal, and that's exactly why they matter. So let's go through them, starting with the one that looks the least alarming but is often the most common. Brittle nails. Nails that shatter when you clip them instead of cutting clean. Nails that peel back in layers, or crumble at the tip, or split down the middle. Most owners assume this is just age, or dry weather, or the breed. Almost always, it's neither. Nails are built from keratin, the same protein as hair. And keratin production in dogs depends heavily on two nutrients most commercial dog foods get exactly wrong: zinc and biotin. Biotin is a B vitamin. Think of it as the foreman on a construction site. Without it, the keratin that gets produced is structurally weak, built from bad materials because it was. Zinc controls how those materials are assembled. I know what you're thinking. My dog eats a complete and balanced food. It says so right on the bag. And by legal standards, you're right. That food meets minimum requirements. But those standards don't account for absorption. A dog with even mild inflammation in the gut, which is very common and almost always silent, absorbs biotin and zinc at a fraction of the rate they need. The food has it. The dog isn't getting it. The fix is not complicated. For dogs under 20 pounds, a quarter teaspoon of plain, unsweetened pumpkin puree mixed into their food once a day. For dogs over 40 pounds, a half teaspoon. This supports the gut lining and improves how nutrients are absorbed. It is not a cure. It is a start. More importantly, if your dog's nails have been brittle for more than a month, ask your vet for a thyroid panel. An underactive thyroid, hypothyroidism, causes brittle nails, dry coat, weight gain, and a kind of low-energy fatigue that owners often chalk up to aging. It is one of the most underdiagnosed conditions I see in middle-aged dogs, and it is diagnosed with one blood test. I had a patient, a 6-year-old beagle named Mabel. Her owner had spent over a year buying expensive coat shampoos. Mabel's thyroid hormone levels came back at less than half of where they should be. One small daily tablet, less than $1 a day. Within 8 weeks, her coat changed completely. Her nails stopped crumbling. Her owner told me she looked like a younger dog. Have you ever looked at the first 5 ingredients on your dog's food and searched each one individually? Not the brand, each ingredient. Tell me in the comments what you found. I read every single one. Some of what people report genuinely stops me. Now I want to move to the sign that scares me most, the single nail that doesn't match the others. And I need you to stay with me here, because this is the warning that gets dismissed most often. Dismissed as a stubbed toe, dismissed as a caught nail, until it's too late to dismiss. When all of your dog's nails look the same, and then one does not, when one nail is thicker at the base, darker than its neighbors, when the skin around that nail bed looks slightly raised or puffy, when your dog pulls their foot back from just that one nail even under the lightest touch, that is a clinical red flag. Full stop. Not automatically cancer. But something is growing in that nail bed. That something could be a cyst, a bacterial abscess, a benign mass, and yes, it could be a subungual melanoma or a squamous cell carcinoma, both of which I have removed from dogs whose owners walked in calling it a stubbed toe. Here is the biology that makes this dangerous. The nail bed sits directly on bone. There is almost no space between the skin and that bone. When something starts growing there, it has nowhere to go except into the bone. By the time the dog shows real lameness, real pain you can't ignore, the tumor has usually already reached the bone. At that point, treatment becomes complicated and amputation of the entire digit is close to certain. Caught before bone involvement, the picture is completely different. Full digit removal, clean margins, no spread. The dog adapts within weeks. They run, they play, they don't count their toes. They're fine. The action here is simple. Once a week, sit with your dog and run your thumb along the base of every nail. You're not looking for anything dramatic. You're looking for the one that feels different, firmer, warmer, slightly raised. Any nail that stands out from its neighbors. Photograph it, write down the date, and have your vet see it that week. Not next month, that week. This takes 45 seconds. Less time than whatever you looked at on your phone before clicking on this video. Now, and this one surprises people because they assume it's purely cosmetic, discolored nails. Nails that have turned yellow, brown, or dull orange at the edges. Nails that look powdery or chalky at the tips, or where you can see a crumbly deposit forming underneath the nail edge. Owners see this and think old age, or staining from grass, or breed variation. Most of the time, it is none of those things. That pattern is a fungal infection until proven otherwise. The organism is usually a dermatophyte, the same class of fungus that causes ringworm in skin. When it establishes in the nail bed, it eats keratin from the inside. The nail structure breaks down. The discoloration you see is the keratin being replaced by fungal debris. It looks like a cosmetic problem because it starts that way. It doesn't stay that way. Here is what makes it more serious than it looks. Dermatophytes spread between nails on the same paw, across the skin of the foot, in multi-pet households between animals, and occasionally to people. I've had owners come to me with an arm rash their dermatologist couldn't identify. When I found the same infection in their dog's nails, everything clicked. There is another critical point. Topical antifungal creams do not work on nail infections. They treat the surface of a problem that lives underneath. What actually works is a systemic antifungal medication, prescribed after a proper nail scraping and culture that identifies the specific organism. Treatment takes weeks, sometimes months. Without it, the infection doesn't clear on its own. At home, before you get to the vet, make sure your dog's paws dry completely after every walk or bath. Fungi thrive in moisture. Get between every toe with a dry towel every time. And look at the nails with real light. Not a glance while the dog is moving. Sit them down, use your phone flashlight, and look at where the nail meets the skin. I treated a 10-year-old dachshund named Brittle for a nail fungal infection that had been misread as age-related nail changes for almost 2 years. 2 years. We ran the culture, confirmed the organism, treated it correctly, and within 6 weeks, his owner told me the nails were growing back a completely different color, clear, healthy. She cried in my office, and I understood it. Because 2 years of watching an old dog's nails crumble while no one gives you an answer does something to you. The last sign is the one I'm most concerned you haven't considered. And it's the one that, when it gets missed, tends to get missed the longest. Fast nail growth. Most owners think of this as an inconvenience. More frequent trims, more money, more wriggling on the table. What I need you to understand is that abnormally rapid nail growth, faster than your dog has ever grown them before, is a metabolic signal. It means something in the body is pushing accelerated tissue growth, and the nails are showing it. The two causes I see most often are Cushing's disease and liver dysfunction. Let me explain what both actually are. Cushing's disease, the clinical name is hyperadrenocorticism, happens when the adrenal glands produce too much cortisol. Think of cortisol as the volume dial on your dog's body. It controls inflammation, energy, and growth signals throughout every tissue. When that dial is stuck on high, tissue growth accelerates across the board: skin, hair, and nails. Dogs with Cushing's usually drink more water, urinate more, develop a pot-bellied look, and lose hair symmetrically on the flanks. But in the early stages, the nails may be the only thing that changes. Liver dysfunction works differently. The liver filters and clears growth-signaling compounds from the blood. When it isn't doing that job efficiently, those compounds accumulate, and the tissues most sensitive to them, including the nails, start growing faster than they should. I want to tell you about a 9-year-old golden retriever named Franklin. His owner, a retired teacher named George, brought him in for a routine checkup and mentioned almost as an afterthought, "His nails seem to be growing really fast lately. I've had to trim them almost every 3 weeks." I ran a full panel. Franklin's liver enzymes were nearly 3 times the upper limit of normal. We caught it early enough to manage with medication and a prescription diet. George told me later that if we hadn't caught it then, Franklin's next checkup would have been a different conversation. He used those exact words. If your dog's nails now require trimming more than once every 3 to 4 weeks when they used to go 5 or 6, track it. Write down each trim date for 2 months. Then bring that paper to your vet and say, "Clearly, my dog's nails are growing faster than they used to." That sentence will prompt a liver function panel and a cortisol test. Early detection of both conditions is the difference between managed, stable disease and organ failure. Now, here is what connects every single thing I've just told you. Brittle nails. The asymmetric nail that looks different from its neighbors. Discolored, crumbling, powdery nails. Nail growth that's suddenly faster than it's ever been. These are not nail problems. They are 4 different signals, all coming from the same source. The inside of your dog's body communicating through the only structure you can actually see and touch without any equipment, without any training, without a vet appointment. Your dog cannot tell you something is wrong, but their body is speaking constantly, through their coat, their gums, their eyes, and their nails. You don't need a medical degree to hear it. You need to know what you're looking for, and now you do. Different signals, same message, different doors, all leading to the same room. I want to go back to Biscuit. 6 weeks after surgery, Patricia brought him back for his checkup. He walked into my exam room without a limp. His whole back half was wagging. Patricia showed me a video on her phone, Biscuit running at the park, 3 days after his sutures came out. She said, and I wrote this down because I write down the things that stay with me. She said, if I had known that one weird nail meant something, I would have been in your office 6 months earlier. That question keeps me up at night. It's part of why I make these videos, because I can't be in every exam room, but I can be here, so here is what I want you to do. Tonight, go sit with your dog, get them settled, get your phone flashlight, look at every nail, all 10 or all 18 depending on your dog. Run your thumb along the base of each one, check the color at the edges, look for crumbling, look for the nail that doesn't look like the others. Notice if any one of them makes your dog pull their foot back. That's it. The whole thing takes under a minute. If everything looks the same as it always has, great. You've done something most owners never do. Do it again next week. If you find something, one nail that looks different, one edge that's discolored, one spot that doesn't feel right, take a photo. Write down what you noticed and when. Call your vet tomorrow morning and say exactly this. I found a change in one of my dog's nails and I'd like to have it looked at. That sentence gets you taken seriously because it should. Your dog has been with you through some version of everything in your life. They deserve 1 minute of your attention once a week, looking at their feet. If someone you know has a dog, a friend, a parent, a neighbor, and you think they need to hear this, send them this video. That is all I ask. Everything I've shared today is general information based on current veterinary research and my clinical experience. It is not a substitute for your pet's individual veterinary care. Talk to your vet before changing your dog's diet or starting any supplement, especially if your dog has existing health conditions. Your vet is your partner in this.